When the Soviets were thinking about land war in the late 1970s, they struck upon idea. How about strapping as many rockets as possible to a T-72 tank chassis, and using it on the battlefield? Thus, the TOS-1 heavy flamethrower system was conceived. If you're confused by the flamethrower bit in that designation, it's understandable. The TOS-1, and its more modern variant, the TOS-1A, look nothing like traditional flamethrowers, either handheld or tank-mounted, used in World War II and other conflicts. Instead, the TOS-1 is designated a flamethrower because, in addition to traditional incendiary rockets, it can also fire thermobaric rockets. Thermobaric rockets are a fuel-air weapon system. When fired, the rockets disperse a cloud of flammable liquid into the air around the target, and then ignite it. The results are devastating. Not only is the explosion significantly longer and the shockwave significantly hotter and stronger than a conventional warhead, but all the oxygen in the near vicinity is also consumed, creating a partial vacuum. This makes them horrifying weapons to use against infantry and entrenched personnel in bunkers and caves. Exactly what the TOS-1 was designed for. Victims typically die either from the intense pressure of the initial blast, or suffocate as their lungs rupture in the vacuum afterwards. It's an incredibly unpleasant way to go. It was first used in combat during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1988. But didn't make its public debut until more than a decade later, during the Second Chechen War in 1999. Lately, the Iraqi army has used it during its fight against ISIS. The downsides of the TOS-1 are that it requires 2 support vehicles for carrying extra rockets and reloading, and that it has to get relatively close to its target before opening fire. But once the TOS-1A is in range, a full salvo of its 24 rockets will make a rectangle 200 meter by 400 meters. A bit more than 8 city blocks. Hell on earth for anyone caught inside. More destructive individual fuel air bombs exist. The U.S. military's GBU-43B massive ordnance air blast bomb creates a shockwave so powerful it can kill people up to 1.7 miles away. And the Russians built a father of all bombs, reportedly 4 times more powerful than that, which would make it the most powerful non-nuclear warhead in the world. But when it comes to land-based weapon systems, it's hard to find something scarier than the TOS-1A. Meanwhile, according to National Interest, the TOS-1 Buratino is a unique Russian self-propelled multiple rocket launcher system, MRLS, that has seen action in global hotspots like Afghanistan, Chechnya, Iraq and Syria. Like the enormous 240mm 2S4 self-propelled mortar, the TOS-1's specialty is obliterating heavily fortified positions. Although some of these may be found in rural rebel strongholds and fortified caves, they have often been employed in heavily urbanized environments. It's gained a uniquely nasty reputation because of the horrifying effects of its fuel-air explosive warheads. To put it concisely, these are amongst the most devastating explosive weapons short of tactical nuclear weapons. TOS stands for Heavy Flamethrower, which is only accurate in a literal sense. Instead of projecting a stream of jellied gasoline, the TOS-1 launches a rocket carrying a fuel-air explosive, FI. These were first employed by the United States in the Vietnam War because napalm wasn't destructive enough. Napalm munitions disperse a sticky, flaming liquid over a wide area. By contrast, a fuel-air explosive detonates the very air itself. A small explosive inside the FI munition spreads a chemical cloud in the air through an aerosol effect. The gaseous cloud seeps effortlessly into buildings and caves, and down into slit trenches. A secondary explosive then ignites the cloud, causing a massive and long-lasting explosion. While the heat generated by phase causes lethal burns in a wide radius, roughly 200 by 300 meters, the overpressure created by the sudden combustion of the air is even deadlier. The fiery blasts create a partial oxygen vacuum that kills and maims in a variety of grotesque ways and cannot be mitigated with body armor or hard cover. The pressure generated by a TOS-1 blast amounts to 427 pounds per square inch. For comparison, most conventional bomb blasts create roughly half that amount, and regular air pressure is 14 pounds per square inch. Victims near the center of a TOS-1 blast radius are crushed to death. Further out, the overpressure can break bones, dislocate eyes, cause internal hemorrhaging, and rupture eardrums, bowels and other internal organs. It also sucks the air out of victims' lungs, possibly causing them to collapse, leading to death by suffocation. Most of Russia's artillery weapons use a light armored vehicle chassis like that of the MTLB armored carrier. The 46-ton TOS-1, on the other hand, uses the much heavier hull of a T-72 tank. There's a good reason. The original TOS-1 model only had a range of around 3 kilometers, meaning it would have to withstand hostile fire from all kinds of enemy weapon systems. The TOS-1 mounts a launch unit with 3,230 mm diameter rocket tubes. The prominence of the launch unit is what earned it the name Buratino, a long-nosed Pinocchio-like character in a children's story. The rockets can be fired individually or ripple-fired en masse in the space of 6 to 12 seconds. The vehicle also mounts a targeting computer and a laser rangefinder. Two types of rockets are equipped. Ones with conventional incendiary warheads, and the fuel-air explosives discussed above. The sheer size of the rockets means that the TOS-1 requires not one but two TZMT reloading vehicles, all-terrain trucks equipped with cranes, each carrying a full additional load of rockets. The TOS-1 vehicle has no real counterpart in use by Western militaries. While there are all kinds of multiple rocket launch systems in use, such as the M142 HIMARS in use by the U.S. Army to bombard ISIS in Iraq, they are all lightly armored weapons intended for long-range indirect fire. Furthermore, such rocket artillery typically relies on cluster munitions or conventional high-explosive warheads, not incendiary ammunition. The Russian Army, however, fields long-range multiple-launch rocket systems like the Smerch and Uragan, capable of using incendiary warheads. The United States uses thermobaric warheads in smaller man-portable systems as well as larger air-launched munitions. Starting in 2001, new TOS-1A Solant Burning Sun vehicles began entering service, with a range of 6 kilometers. This is sufficiently long-range to allow it to fire beyond retaliatory fire from the majority of anti-tank weapons. The new vehicle comes with an improved ballistics computer as well. Because it fires heavier 90 kg rockets, the number of launch tubes was reduced to 24.